Another day at Eurobike 2023, out on the test track at the moment, getting a little bit of sun, admiring some of the very random vehicles and bikes going past. Let's go inside and check out a load more great mountain bike tech. Same show, same Dangerholm, different bike. And I honestly do not know, I just don't even know what to make of it. What's it for? What's the frame underneath here? Is this a gravel bike? Is this a mountain bike?
Yeah, so this is brand new. I haven't shown it anywhere yet, actually. So this is my new Scotch scale RC. I call it the Super Gravel. It's a bit of a wordplay, and I take the bullet for it. I mean, this is like a 90s mountain bike, rigid, and I will mainly use it for gravel riding. You know, just if you come from a mountain bike background, it can make sense to do gravel riding with flat bars. Then you can pull wheelies on the downhills, you know. So
yeah, for sure.
Not everything has to be a drop bar just because it's gravel. So yeah, other than that, this was like a bit of a concept bike based on a Porsche paint scheme. So it actually has Porsche forest green metallic, and that's also the inspiration for the gold wheels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the spec is quite spectacular as well.
Are they the Synchros wheels under there? Or?
Yeah, so these are the full carbon Synchro Silverton SL, and what's cool about them is that they are truly a one-piece construction. So the carbon fiber strands go all the way from one side of the wheel up to the other to make it as light, as strong as possible. So,
okay, yeah, and then that's powering presumably the light you've got on the front there.
Yeah, exactly.
So
this is a Norwegian brand called Moonlight, and this is a 4000 lumen light. And I've hidden the battery in a slightly modified regular water bottle. Yeah. And thanks to the new mounting system on the scale, I've been able to hide the cable internally and route it through the headset. And it's actually not that difficult either.
So I noticed you got some XTR pedals. I just saw you just put them on by hand, so you haven't got an Allen key.
Yeah.
What's going on with the axle? Because that's not stock either.
No, these are smoking new. It's actually presented today.
Yeah.
It's a titanium axle upgrade kit for XTR pedals. It's made by a super small brand from Italy called Peaty, and it saves 40 grams over the stock Shimano XTR pedals, and also makes slight improvement to the weather seals and stuff like that. So really cool little upgrade. And speaking of titanium, the bike is decked out in more and more titanium everywhere.
Yeah.
So you also have titanium through axles from the same brand, from Metti.
Yeah.
And then to the real highlights. This is the Sturdy Cycles 3D printed titanium crankset.
Yeah.
And it is actually my, also not presented yet, brand new signature Dangerholm chainring.
No way.
So this is made by Doddy Design, another British company.
Oh, yeah.
So full titanium, super light. It's inspired design-wise from car wheels and 80-year-old steel chain rings and stuff like that. And to top things off, you also actually have a 3D printed titanium derailleur hanger that is hollow with a lattice structure and color matched with the bike to go with, for example, the titanium sturdy bottle cages as well.
Yeah. I noticed the center lock as well.
Yeah.
Who made those?
Yeah, the center lock rings are actually also from Sturdy and 3D printed titanium anodized to match. So it doesn't get much wilder than that. Another nice little feature is actually a custom shifter setup. So this is the Swiss brand Zirbel. Yeah. So it's just a twister shifter.
And it's, nice, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it has a bearing for super smooth action. It's magnetic based. The battery and the PCU is actually hidden in the handlebar, the circuit board.
I tell you, this is funny because when you first look at the bike, obviously it looks beautiful, but it looks very simple. And I think the simplicity is the key to this one. I think this is my favourite, I think, of what you've done so far.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
I really
means
appreciate
a lot,
this. Because there's just so much detail. The more you look, the closer you get, the better it is. And the paint job's absolutely stunning. Whoever did that, that's really nice. Yeah. I
mean, that's a bit of the fun challenge when you have something as basic as a rigid hardtail.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun to take the concept up a notch and simply make everything matching and have it a cool looking bike, even if it's sort of basic in its basic way.
I aspire to go as far as this one day on a bike, but I think I'd be too scared to be judged to be not as good as this, because what you've done, I think this is the coolest stuff ever. I'd love to know what you people think down there as well. Thank you as always for your
Cheers,
time.
guys.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much for watching.
I've already said how important kids' bikes are, because you're seeing the stars of tomorrow coming to mountain biking. And look at this 24-inch wheel bike on the Hayes and the Manitou stand. I mean, I can't stop looking at so many levels of things. Starting with the forks. Manitou, I think no one comes close to them in terms of what they're doing at the moment, let alone in the kids market. So this, on the kids market, this is a J Unit Pro. They do this in 20-inch and the 24. It's basically like a scaled down full-size fork. There's no scaled down features on it. It's got the infinite rate tuned spring system in here from the Dorado. Basically you can adjust the ramp up of the fork independently from the actual air pressure of the fork. You've got compression and rebound on here. You've got everything going on that you get on the big forks. And then up to the handlebars here, and you've got these mini pro taper bars that are super slim. So if you think a normal bar is like 22.2 thickness, they've had to build these special grips for little small hands. And although Dominion brakes are stock, the brake levers themselves are shorter and they're even thinner for small hands to get on them. I mean, you could see they're kind of dwarfed by my fingers, but that's just incredible. I'm gonna have to get some for my son. I just love what's on these bikes now. It's like a proper fully featured bike with decent tyres, decent wheels, brakes for little hands, handlebars and grips for little people. Just mind-blowing. And then moving over here, I think you might recognise this bad boy. Yeah, it's my bike. I did say to a few people that they wanted to show it off on the stand, and I'm pretty happy about this. It's still, I think, my most favourite project I've worked on, both for the nostalgic reasons, because I got to talk about all the retro stuff that I love so much, but also have a bit of a modern twist on it. So this is a YT Capra underneath here. This is a Mezza Pro fork on the front here, but it's been painted up. In fact, the whole thing has been painted to look like the original System DH bike. I made two videos, one all about the build, and the second video all about doing a paint job, because I actually sprayed the front triangle on this as well with Fat Creations, and it couldn't have been possible without Fat Creations to replicate that fork, which was the EFC downhill fork, and just blows me away. I already can't wait for it to be shipped back so I can ride it again. And then over here is a bike. In fact, I said it was Neil's bike, but I think it might be Blake's bike. Either way, it was Neil's bike, whatever. But yeah, so a nuke-proof reactor here, and it's running that new Manitou fork on the front. So I think of this as a scaled-down Mezza, I guess you would call it. So same features again, a smaller fork, trail-purpose fork. Yeah, I mean, hell of a bike, but it's not a patch of mine, gotta say. If you're the sort of rider that uses a hip pack, a bum bag, a fanny pack, whatever you want to call it, you might want to check out what Fidlock are offering. Now, you might know Fidlock from having the bottle cages that are magnetic, and they've got two of these built onto every one. So you think how difficult it can be to get a bottle in or out of your riding pack. If that is you, then this will sort that problem out. It just becomes like touching your nose after a while. Also, it's made from really heavy duty material to keep the weather away, and you've got a fully waterproof compartment at the back here, which for me, carrying cameras and things like that, GoPros, that's a great place to store your kit in there. I don't know why other people don't do that, to be honest. It's got magnetic hatches all over the place, fully adjustable. You've got reflective material to keep you safe, and then also the main closure as well, magnetic, as with all Fidlock stuff. Nice bit of kit, that. The bottles as well have a new technology in as well, that no matter what you do to them, they're not going to stink afterwards. So if you've had a regular water bottle, you've gone for a ride, you've rinsed it out, and you just put the lid on loosely in your cupboard, you will know well that when you take that lid off, it has a bit of a funk about it, kind of smells. You ain't going to get that with those bottles, no taste either. And one last thing, if you're a cameraman and you like your cameras, you're a creator, this is quite a cool thing. You've got these little toggles that go onto your straps in your bag, and it just means you can take the weight off the straight. Just means you can take the weight off the camera away from your neck for a while, and it can rest on the straps of your bag. So if you're out there and you're a field reporter or a photographer or a creator, like Matt the cameraman, that's a pretty cool system. Now, you might have seen the video I went to see Magura at their HQ in Germany a while back, and those guys are always innovating and making new stuff. So although this one is an urban bike at the moment here, this is the new MTA brake lever. So think of this as like a price point brake lever, but it's full performance. So you've got to understand there's a lot of different price point bikes, there's a lot of different styles of bikes out there, but they shouldn't be lacking in braking power, and that's what this is aiming to deliver. Something special to notice on this, if you come down here and look at the caliper, if you compare it to other price point style brakes, a lot of the time the calipers, you can only change the actual brake pads by removing the wheel. They don't have sort of the access from the back of the brake. That's the sort of tech that you see on much higher end brake calipers, so that's really nice to see. price point. So you're going to see this on like trekking bikes and various other bikes, but just a cool thing I wanted to show you. Now let's move over here. They've got some really good new technology. Now we all know someone who's a bit nervous, should we say, at using the brakes on their bike. So we've already seen the ABS technology from Magura. What they've developed here, this is a working prototype, is the ability to use one brake lever to control both calipers, and you can even adjust the sort of bias to how much percentage you want it to do that. I mean, if you just pull the lever, you don't really notice it. If you pull the lever quite slowly, you can almost feel like I'd say just a slight step between where the secondary caliper starts activating. You'll see some cargo bikes, you're going to see this going into production from next year onwards. I think it's amazing, great piece of technology from Magura. So I'm pulling the lever lightly at the moment. You can see just about here, you can see the actual pads moving to the rotor. But if you look over here on what would be the front caliper, it's not moving, but I go a little bit harder and then it activates it. So there's a defined difference between the two, but you can actually function both calipers with a single lever. As you might imagine, I've got to run 2 levers on the bike anyway because of regulations for safety. But in theory, you could just run the single lever for both brakes. Pretty cool. I'm not really sure what I can even say about this. It's obviously Bruni's bike, world champs. So just look at it, just look up close. There's no point me even talking about this. There's just too much to look at. The artwork, the little shot of him celebrating on the podium down here. You have to ignore the chainsaw protector, that's a little bit rogue on there, but the bike is just off the charts. Angle set in the top there, like offset cups. One of the coolest things about Eurobike is when you come to the bigger stands like SRAM and RockShox or Shimano and that, you start seeing the pros bikes. This one belongs to Nino Schurter, of course. We've seen him winning races on it, and look, there he is on another one of his bikes. There's not much else to say other than just looking at all the livery on the bike. It's absolutely beautiful. But it is a bit different to the recent one he's been riding. So I am wondering, is this actually his bike? What do you reckon? It's Nino's bike. Wasn't that just... Just hanging at the Merida stand, checking out a whole bunch of their bikes. I mean, they've got everything in every category, but the 160 is a bike myself and Anna just made a video on for GMBN so look out for that video. I just want to tell you a few things about it because it's got probably the most amount of tech and it's insanely good value. So they've got bikes ranging from the alloy frame around £2,500 all the way up to the 10K option that's got flight attendant and access and all of that cool stuff on it. But the frame fundamentally are the same. You get the carbon, you get the alloy. Out back, you've got flex stay rather than having a pivot down there, so it saves weight, it makes it easier to manufacture, and the amount that actually moves is even less than a flex stay on a 100mm travel cross-country bike. So it's kind of almost pointless having to put a pivot in there with all the hardware and stuff. So I think that's a really sensible approach given the frame design. On the back of the seat stay here, you've got a flip chip, so you can swap it between 29 and 27.5 inch wheels without having to do anything else. It just changes the geometry. You've got this single pivot system, basically with a linkage drive and a shock, carbon frame. Now they all have a very low standover and they all have a fairly low stack height, which isn't really referred to a lot in many bikes. You tend to see the reach referred to, and the thing with these bikes is they're sized them extra short, mid, long and extra long. There's no reference to being large, extra large stuff, and the concept is essentially that Anna could actually ride up to a large if she wanted to, up to a long even, because of the fact they're insanely low, and they've got a very unique dropper post on them that will do 30 to 230mm drop. Really impressive stuff. But even better than that for myself is the fact that you can get the 160 in a slightly different guise, which is better from my point of view. That's the 140, it's got the same exact frame. There's nothing different, only the shock mounts and the length of the shock in the eye to eye with the stroke. Same frame, 140mm travel. For me, that is the weapon in the range, even though that's the one that everyone is going to look at. But yeah, they've got loads, and this is the 140 in an alloy frame as well. This one's just $2,299. Great spec on there, great geometry. Check them out, awesome bikes from Merida. Just hanging with the crew at Peaty's and checking out one of their latest tool, you could say tool, it's for storing your tools on your bike in fact. So you can see the wrap in place there, it's a trail tool wrap. but it's slightly different from anything else on the market. So firstly, one of the things you'll discover when you've got something strapped onto your bike is it tends to move around slightly, which A, is a bit annoying, and B, it can dull down your paintwork, so that's not cool. So firstly, the strap has got rubber on the inside, so that won't move. The second cool thing, I'll show you in a minute, we're going to go straight to the third cool thing, which is this. You've got a waterproof pack that goes onto the bike. It's got a tiny little zippered compartment in here, perfect for car keys, something like that. Waterproof, that's key. So if you've got your van key or whatever and it's got electronics in it, that's a pretty safe place to store that. It stores 2 or 3 CO2 cartridges in there, or whatever else you need, multi-tools, etc. And you can Velcro it onto the bike. But here's the second thing. It doesn't come off the bike, right? So not only does it not rotate, it doesn't come off, which means you can put an inner tube under there, and it also means when you're working on your bike, you can stick that on there as well. Handy, dead simple. I love it when they just think things out like that. Available now, I think, in black, grey, and a sort of army green, as you can see there. Cool, eh? So it's talked about quite a lot about Steve Peaty's greatest victory, and of course it might be very different for him because he's obviously won the World Championships, but for me it was when he won World Cup in Fort William in 2005. Now that's the bike just up there, and I was with my friends watching in one of the grandstands, screaming ourselves hoarse for him. I specifically remember it's Dan Jarvis and another commentator, and they basically had the timing down so they knew if the rider could win for when they came for that arch around the hill. And they're like, he's got to appear in 5, 4, and he literally comes through and the whole crowd went absolutely bonkers. One of the coolest moments ever. And you know what, it's always cool to see that bike. Like, look at the thing. It's mad, isn't it? And you look how far we've come now compared to what we're racing these days. You know, it's got a 5th element shock on there, so it's got a stable platform valve and that sort of thing you see in Baja racing trucks to stop the body roll with all that travel moving around. An inertia valve, essentially. Classic set of boxers on there. Got the Mavic rims in the classic yellow as well. The MRP chain guide with the 2 rollers. Old Crank Brothers mallets, and then check that tiny little SRAM XO mech there. Short cage, little carbon cage on it. Race face cranks. Man, cool, love a bit of nostalgia, awesome stuff. We're on the Trickstuff stand at the moment. You know what they do, super Trickstuff obviously. This is actually a hot tip from Dangerholm. Told me to come and check these brake levers out. Look at this, 3D tie printed. Oh my God, I don't think I've ever seen a brake lever as nice as that. And that just feels, could there be a nicer brake out than there? I don't think so. I reckon that is the coolest brake on the market. 3D titanium printed. Oh man, look at it. You've even got traction built into it from like the lattice on the back. Oh man, it's like a work of art. Another solid day at Eurobike. The sun is going down, thankfully, and I would say that it's getting calmer and people are going home, but it's really not. So much good stuff to see, and we're coming back again tomorrow, so don't forget the video we made yesterday is already live. You can see that in the link down there. I'm going back again tomorrow to see some more tech. Let us know in the comments down there if there's something that you think I should be reporting on, and we'll see if we can go find it, put it in a video. I'd love to know what you thought was the coolest bit of tech. See you tomorrow.